I will say I feel a little more empathy towards them because COVID has changed all of our plans. So I'm watching them with notes. I think you will see a big difference in terms of content because theirs has been pure fiction, led off each night by Hollywood elitists lecturing the middle of this country on how we should live and what we should think. And our convention will feature real people, real average Americans, and their lives and their stories. We don't need screenwriters and fiction writers and Hollywood actresses and actors.
Now, Chairwoman McDaniel, I've played AOC's speech twice because it's so radical. I think you might actually want to devote part of the convention to playing it and having a commentator analyze what she says because it's so radical, and yet she's the heart of the House.
Yeah, she's the starring role of the Democrat Party right now and the starring role of Biden's campaign. They're not showing that, right, during the convention. They're trying to create this fluff of Joe Biden 2008, of a totally different Biden who's a moderate. He is a full-blown leftist, progressive, AOC, Bernie Sanders puppet. He is a bridge to socialism. AOC may have been gone in 60 seconds last night, but her legacy will live on through generations as it destroys this nation if Joe Biden is elected and allowed to enact her plans for America.
No, I don't think Americans like being called xenophobic. I mean, colonizers, violent, brutal. That's all in her minute and a half. I would play it. But let's talk specifics, Chairwoman McDaniel. My Washington Post column this morning says just give all the time to Donald Trump that's prime time. Just let him come back 4 times because he makes the best case for himself of anyone. Are you going to limit the president to one appearance, or is he going to be on a lot?
Oh, I think there'll be some surprises. It's already been out that he'll be out every day. I totally agree with you. There's nobody more riveting, more TV worthy than President Trump, and more watchable. You know, he's fun to watch, whether you like him or you don't like him. He is fun to watch. So we're going to have the president out, but we're going to talk about what this administration has accomplished. It was laughable to me to see John Kerry last night say that because of Obama and him, Iran wasn't going to create a nuclear bomb, that they made America a safer place. It is just pure fiction. Donald Trump, with what he has done, getting out of the Iran deal, defeating ISIS, restoring power to the decision makers in the arena, the generals and those on the field, taking it out of the hands of Washington bureaucrats, all the things this president has done for veterans, for deregulation, for energy independence, for cutting taxes, for judges. These are things that we're going to highlight and then preview what 4 more years of Donald Trump will look like.
You know, I hope you have a video. This is a suggestion with either Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley, maybe Lindsey because he's the chairman, explaining what 2 Supreme Court justices, 53 appeals court justices, and 200 plus judges means. I just had David Cortman of Alliance Defending Freedom on, and Newt Gingrich's new book talks about how President Trump's remade federal judiciary is defending religious liberty. And if we have 4 more years, the court system will be back where it ought to be, protecting the Constitution. But that takes some explaining to non-lawyers. It takes 10 minutes and a great messenger. Is that anywhere on the agenda?
You know, I may have to take a look at that. That's a good idea. I don't know if that's a 10-minute speech on that is on the agenda. But I always am willing to take suggestions. And, hey, we've been running and gunning with this thing in a way we've never had to do since we canceled Jacksonville. So, you know, why not add one more thing to the plate?
I just think that the courts matter so much. It's like the military rebuild, and people don't realize President Obama left the cupboard bare at $600 billion, and the budget is up to almost $800 billion now. There's so much that's been done. It could just be a catalog, but it can't be old guys. Like last night, Colin Powell was 83, Bill Clinton was 74, Chuck Hagel was 73, Joe Biden 78. It's the old guy parade, except for AOC. It was so disjointed, Chairwoman McDaniel. I hope that we've got professionals advising you on how to make it interesting.
We do. We're working really hard. We're doing it in a shorter time frame than they had, so I'm excited about it. And of course, we have Donald Trump, a candidate who wants to get out and talk about his vision for America. You know, Joe Biden has spent his entire campaign figuring out ways to hide from the American people, not take tough questions. He wasn't on any of the Sunday shows. He has brief snippets in each programming every night, but we're really not getting a sense of who Joe Biden is as a candidate. And Joe Biden 2020 is very different than Joe Biden 2008. And I think last night we saw a lot of Joe Biden 2008, who everybody wishes he was, but that's not who he is anymore. He is the AOC Bernie Sanders Biden now.
I agree. I would also, my second suggestion, it's in the post column. I would get a few people in from the networks, Lester Holt, Dana Bash, or the John Dickerson. There are a lot of good journalists out there, and have them interview the president 30 minutes and play that in prime time, because he's not afraid of one-on-one interviews. I did one with him last week. He's not afraid of tough questions. I asked him about the Uyghurs and John Bolton's book. He'll take any question. That contrasts so sharply with Vice President Biden, who's hiding.
Oh, I think he should offer 30 minutes to Joe Biden to take a tough interview. Say, I'll give 30 minutes of my convention time, Joe Biden, if you come take an interview from Chris Wallace, who's been asking for you for weeks. I'll bet you Joe Biden wouldn't take it.
You're right.
You're exactly right. I mean, I'd be happy to give Joe Biden that time if it were up to me. Here, Joe, we'll let you do an interview in prime time with every tough journalist. Since you won't do it, we'll give you a night of our convention for that, because he won't do it.
That's a great challenge. That's a great challenge.
For president, how can you run for president? How can you face world leaders when you can't face the American press? And they have given him a real gloves-off approach. I don't think that's going to last. I do think that it's time for this candidate to be vetted. We know last night it's all fluff and circumstance, and it's, a gooey cake of the perfect candidate that they try and craft and create. But there's a reality to the policies he's creating, and they're really frightening, with taxing 82% of Americans more, getting rid of energy independence, which means higher gas prices, higher heating prices for our homes. The list goes on at the radical ideas that Joe Biden's putting forward that would fundamentally transform this country.
No, the explainers, you could do an explainer on the Biden tax proposal. It's confiscatory and devastating. But again, back to specifics. You get an hour of prime time each night across the networks, but you've got the cable channels tuned in. So every minute counts, Chairwoman. And we can't indulge the bad speakers. I mean, some people are great legislators and terrible speakers. Are you ruthless enough, Ronna McDaniel, to tell people, sorry, not sorry, you can't have TV time?
Yes, I am. And I've been fielding a lot of calls. I mean, everybody wants to speak, and
of
it's
course.
Not going to be about politicians. It's just not. And I think the stories that are being told and the narrative, if it comes together, which every day we're getting there. I feel really good about it. But I feel good that this is a convention about real people and their stories and the narrative about the greatness of America.
Can I give you one more suggestion? I would get Mike Gallagher, Dan Crenshaw, Martha McSally, and Tom Cotton, 4 combat veterans, to talk about the military, to be in conversation, and then edit it down to 15 minutes. Because the military veterans we've got in the Congress, those 4, Martha McSally, first female fighter pilot ever, Tom Cotton led platoons in Baghdad, Dan Crenshaw gave up his eye in Afghanistan, Mike Gallagher, intel officer in Iraq. They speak for the military, and they're young, and they're Republican. And I would love to see them all at once in a round table talking about the military rebuild.
Hugh, I should have talked to you 2 weeks ago.
Hey, you got time. You got a weekend. Television's done on the fly. I've been doing this for 30 years. You just send the plane and get those guys over. They can sit around talking with President Trump about it in the Oval, film it, and put it up. I mean,
we're working. Listen, we're working around the clock. There is not a lot of sleep right now being had.
Oh my gosh.
We transitioned late, and it's a whole new world for this convention. History is going to be made, and I'm a little less critical of the Democrats because
I am
know
too.
How hard this is.
It's very hard, but I'll tell you what, Steve Guest, your whole team, the Rapid Response, doing a great job. You're doing a great job. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to watching next week. Good luck.